Okay, in this video, we're going to start into the introduction of factoring. So let's cover a few things, few ground things before we actually get into the factoring. Okay, let's learn what a monomial is. You may have heard that term in your pre-algebra. Let's talk about what a binomial is. And let's talk about lastly what a trinomial is. It'll be one more called a polynomial, which they all fall up under. Let's go ahead and introduce it now. I was going to wait till we get into actually talking about polynomials, but we'll go ahead and talk about a polynomial now. Okay, so we have a monomial, a binomial, a trinomial, and a polynomial. Okay, so what we want to actually look at here is what these individual things are. Okay, well, a monomial is actually what it says, mono, which means one, of course. So we're looking at talking about one term, and a one-term thing would be the things like this. They'd be your numbers, as in, let's say 4 would be a monomial, 4x would be a monomial, 6x squared would be a monomial, 4x to the 5th power is a monomial, 9x to the 8th power is a monomial, 9y to the 4th power is a monomial. Okay, basically, okay, 4xy squared is a monomial, 4xzy is a monomial. These are your monomials. They basically have one term. Okay, now the reason we say this is one term is because it's not separated by anything but multiplication. There's no division, there's no addition or subtraction. Okay, there's only multiplication. It's one entire term. Okay, next we'll talk about what a binomial is. Okay, a binomial, if this is a monomial, a binomial must have how many terms? It must have 2 terms. So we talk about things like 2 plus 4x, 3y plus 6, 4x minus 2, x minus 3, x plus 2. These are 2 things that you'll see common. You'll see these a lot as far as when we're about to go into factoring. When we're factoring our first type of factoring, you'll see these 2 binomials come up a lot. We'll see things like 3x squared times y plus 4x minus 2. These are your binomials. They basically have 2 terms. They only have one operation going. They only have one addition. They have one operation other than multiplication. So they'll have maybe addition or subtraction. Okay, no division. And we'll talk about why it's no division in a second here. Okay, now thirdly, we'll talk about a trinomial. Let's introduce a trinomial. Well, if a monomial has 1, and a binomial has 2, a trinomial you must know has 3. So a trinomial we look at like this. We say 3x squared plus 4x plus 6, okay? Things that have 3 terms in them. X squared plus bx plus c, which you'll see this come up quite a bit as far as when we get into factoring. This is actually known as the factoring standard form. The quadratic standard form. Okay, we'll see things like, just giving an example, we'll see x squared plus 6x plus 8. Okay, these are different trinomials that we'll see. They have 3 terms. Okay, now let's go into a polynomial. What is a polynomial? Well, a polynomial are things with more than 3 terms. Okay, now you'll hear people, or your teachers, you may hear them speak of monomial, binomial, and trinomial as all polynomials, which is true. They are polynomials. That we just, instead of keep going up on the number of terms, we just call everything more than 3 terms a polynomial in general. So if we have 3x squared plus, well, let's do 3x cubed plus 4x squared plus 6x plus 9. That is a polynomial. It has 4 or more terms. Okay. Let's get another example of a polynomial. It'll be 4x to the 5th power plus 4. Let's do plus 3x to the 4th plus 3x cubed minus 2x squared plus 6x plus 9. These are things that we call, let's delete that a little bit there. Okay, plus 6x plus 6x plus 9. This is what we'd call a polynomial because it has more than one term included in it. I mean, it has more than 4 terms, okay? So go ahead and take these notes. These are some really good notes on what monomials, binomials, and trinomials and polynomials are, okay? So let's get a few examples just to get you introduced to this a little bit more before we get into factoring. Let's just do some identification of some stuff. Let's do some problems here. Number 1, let's say I want you to list all the factors of 24. Okay, so what do I mean when I say list all the factors of 24? What indeed does that mean? Well, we're basically listing the numbers that can be multiplied to give me this 24 here, right? So what are those numbers? This is how I usually start off. I usually make a curtain type thing. So I start off with my first number, which would be 1, of course, and then 1 times what will give me 24? 24. Okay? What else will multiply? Will 2 multiply and get by something and give me 24? Well, yes, it will. 2 and what? 2 and 12 actually. So 2 and 12. Okay? Now let's see, will 3 and anything? Well, will 3 multiply by anything to give me 24? Yes, it will. 3 multiply times 8. So we'll put a 3 here, and to close off, we'll put an 8 here. Okay, see how we're coming into our brackets. I mean, how we're coming into our, how we're closing in. Okay, now will anything else? Will 4? Well, will 4 multiply by anything to give me 24? Well, yes, it will. 4 will multiply by 6. Okay, now will 5 multiply by anything to give me 24? Well, no, 5 won't. And you know that 6 it will because it's already right here, right? So we're actually done. And this is how you can tell that you're done. Because if you see there's only one number in between, let's get that in a different color. You see there's only one number in between here that's missing, right? Which is a 5, right? And you know that after 5 it comes 6, okay? So you already know we already have 6, so the only thing that's missing is 5. And it can extend past 24, right? In order to be factors. So that's how we know that these are all of its factors. Okay, well, now that we know that these are all of its factors, what can we do with that? This is actually going to help us when we start to do factoring. You want to remember your factors, okay? Suppose I say which one of these factors of 24 will add to a we'll add to a 10. Okay. So I have 24, and I want a factor of 24 that adds to 10. So they need to multiply to 24, but add to 10. What will that be equal to? Well, we're using these factors here. Okay, let's look at it. Well, 1 and 24, that'll multiply to 24, but will it add to 10? No. 2 and 12, that'll multiply to 24, but will it add to 10? No. 3 and 8, that'll multiply to 24, but will it add to 10? No. 4 and 6, that will multiply to 24 as well will add to 10. So the factors are 4 and 6. Okay? Those are the two factors that you'll end up taking, 4 and 6. Now the reason we actually take these factors is because they'll both add up to they'll multiply to 24, of course, since they're factors, and also they will, when they're added, 4 plus 6 will be equal to 10. And you'll see exactly why I'm doing this when we get in our next video and we talk about factoring. We'll talk about the factorization of trinomials. Okay, so let's get one more example here, then we're going to cut this video. Okay, one more example just to introduce you and give you a refreshment on factoring of regular numbers here. Let's say I want you to factor minus 18. Okay, so let's go ahead and go a step further here. I want you to find a number that adds, find factors of 18 that adds to, let's see, give me a minute here. I want you to find a number that will multiply to minus 18 and add to a minus to a minus 3. Okay, I want them to multiply to 18, but add to a minus 3. Let's actually see if this is possible here. Well, let's start off by listing the factors of 18. The factors of 18, we have 1 and 18, of course. Then we have, will 2 multiply by something? Yes, 2 and 9. Okay, will 3? Yes, 3 and 6. Will 4? Well, 4 is not a factor of 18. So that won't work. Now, will 5? 5 isn't a factor of 18. But we already have 6. So the only 2 numbers we're missing in between here, we're going to put them in white, are 4 and 5. Right? Which are not factors. So we know 6 is a factor and 9 is a factor and nothing else. So we automatically know that these are all of my factors. Okay? So let's look at it. We have, okay, 1 second here. So we have this 3 and this 6. So now what we want to do, we want to find factors that will multiply to minus 18. This should say multiply, not add here. That will multiply to minus 18. Multiply to minus 18. But at the same time, add to a minus 3. Well, let's look here. So if we get lucky enough, it'll actually work. 1 and 18. That'll multiply to, well, if we take 1 and 18, we have to take one of these as a negative. So we take negative 18 times 1. Okay, that'll be a negative 18. But it won't add to give me a negative 3. Okay, 9 and 2, that'll multiply, negative 9 and 2, that'll multiply to give me minus 18, right? But it won't add to negative 3. Well, if we look at 6 and 3, if we take a negative 6, multiply it times a positive 3, we end up with a negative 18. And also, I'm thinking if we subtract, if we take negative 6 minus 3, I'm sorry, negative 6 plus 3, this will end up being a negative 3. Okay, so it looks like we have found our answer here. The factors of negative 18 that will multiply, the factors of 18 that will multiply to negative 18, but also add to negative 3 are what? We have negative 6 and 3.